Next, we're going to use a command called add slashes. And what this does is, if the user happens to, within their input, add some character like quote mark, then when we come to evaluate that variable and use it within our SQL script, we could find some complications arising. So what we're going to do is use our add slashes command on each of these variables, and what that'll do is it'll just add a little escape character before any problematic characters that it could encounter, such as quote mark. So that all three fields have been put through that process, and now we need to make a connection to our database as before, and there we're going to select the correct database, Vinyl Dealers database, and then we're going to set up a SQL string. We're going to call this one add feedback. We could call it query as we normally do, but just to make it very clear what we're doing with our piece of SQL, we're going to use this format. What we're going to say is we're going to insert into the feedback table, and we're going to specify each of the fields. This is because within the structure of our feedback table there is an initial field which simply stores the ID number, which is going to make each piece of feedback have a unique identifier. So basically we don't want the username being put, or MySQL attempting and failing to put the username into an inappropriate field, such as the ID field. And we're going to have to use single quotes to surround our variable names, and we can either put them in very simply like this, which may seem like a very easy way of working, or we can do it the slightly harder way of including a close quote and a concatenation symbol either side of every variable. Now this may look like it's just adding a few extra keystrokes and extra work to what should be a simple operation, but with some configurations of PHP you may find that the facility that allows you to simply put variables into a string and for them to be evaluated has been disabled for greater efficiency. If you come across that, then that could cause some problems for you. So for the sake of being able to deal with any kind of PHP setup, we're going to include all the double quotes and concatenation symbols. Next we're going to run that query just like all the other queries we've worked with before. And then we're going to close out PHP script again, and we're going to put on a little message at the end to let the user know that their data has been successfully added to our database. Now there's no error checking as yet to make sure that that really has been added to the database. We'll look at that in a later chapter because that's a whole other can of worms. So there is our script. Let's save that. And we would, if this was for a real site, add some kind of link after this comment here to take the user back to the home page. There's no home page though in our sample setup, so we're not going to do that. Now I've added some data here to our feedback form, and as we can see, I've included one of the potential problem characters, this single quote, and our add slashes function should pick that up and deal with it anyway. So we're going to submit that data, and apparently our comments have been added to the database. Let's take a quick look at the MySQL monitor, and we'll see whether that's worked. As we can see, our latest piece of data has been added here. These other two fields are from earlier on when I was testing that PHP script. So as we can see, our piece of data has been successfully added to the database.